So that means that for you to have an application deployed, running well, and performing all the necessary functions, you must first have a network. But the concept of networking that I drew earlier on is no longer in vogue. This concept where you have to have once you have a contract, then you go to the market to buy, you order 50 computers, and then you set up, you call a network engineer, they come to your hall, to your warehouse, and they set up that for you. They run cables from all of the rooms, sometimes through the attic, and then they connect to a special room called server room. And then there you have the switch, and then they put a label, do not enter, so that all of this is working together as a single network called NAN. That one is no longer in. What is reigning now is that this physical machine 1, machine 2, machine 3, they are not physical. They are not hardware. You don't go to the market to buy them anymore. And these links are no longer cables. This switch does no longer exist. I mean, in the modern way, it's not like they are completely wiped out. So what you do in place of this is that you go into cloud and you set up as many virtual machines as you would need to accomplish this task. And these virtual machines, by the nature of cloud, are already network. So this is the virtual equivalent of this physical network. So you can now set up the equivalent of your physical network instead of renting a place, buying generators, provide your own power, provide your own security, run your own cables, and the liability of the machine going down is on you. All of those traditional ways of doing IT is old and is no longer in vogue. What's in vogue now is that the third party has now provided all of this infrastructure. All you do is just log into cloud, have access to all of this impact, all of these services, and then you can architect, you can bring up the services that you want, put them together in ways that you want, and use it as your network to deploy the application that you were hired to set up the infrastructure. So if you were going to learn this like 15 years ago, you go through this networking, at least the concept of routing and all of that. But these days, no. We just go into cloud, begin to set up virtual machines, and then begin to configure these virtual machines as we would have configured them if they were physical machines, and then ultimately learn how to automate the process of spinning up virtual machines. So this is what we are going to learn in cloud. Broadly speaking, there are many cloud service providers. There are many companies that have set up infrastructure physically in data centers and make this infrastructure and the services available to the public so that they can come into those infrastructure and rent a space like you are renting a room in a hotel, or you're even renting a house that you did not build, all right? And then you can have access to the resources. You are billed for whatever you use. So there are many companies, but the three most popular companies that are providing this kind of services, kind of cloud services, are Amazon. The cloud service that Amazon as a company provides is called AWS, Amazon Web Services. And then there is Microsoft. The cloud services that Microsoft provides, they named it Microsoft Azure. And then there is Google, and the cloud service that it provides, they call Google Cloud. Right? So these are the three most popular. This one being the most popular of them. So for that reason, most popular of them means that this is the one that most employers use to set up their infrastructure and deploy their application. So for that reason, we'll be looking at cloud from the eye of AWS. So every time we say cloud without specifying which of these platforms we are referring to, what I have in mind is AWS. All right. Let's make sure all of that makes sense so far. Any questions? All right. So what do we need to have in place in order to deploy our application? So you are working for a company that has either they have a global app, for example, an app WhatsApp, an app that allows you to communicate, to make phone calls. So WhatsApp employs you, which means that they need you to be part of this team that supports the high availability and the normal work of the app WhatsApp. What was the fundamental thing that had to be in place before they could deploy that app?
Server.
All right. Server, okay. Anything else?
Okay. I think a network needs to be in place for them to be able to deploy the app.
Yes. So server is correct, but network is more correct. So When we say network, we mean that it contains all of the servers that the app will need, and then all of the other infrastructure that we may not even know exist now, alongside the services like security, like firewall, and so on and so forth. So network is better. And then when you have a network made up of so many services, one of the made up of many services and devices and equipment. Yeah, they could be in the form of hardware, that we call them devices, or they could be in the form of software, call them services. Each together will refer to all of these individual components of the network. So if we say this is the network now, this is a component in the network, this is another component in the network, this is another component, this is another component, even the cables, they are part of it. All of those individual components are together called network infrastructure, right? So your network is made up of network infrastructure. Give me 2 examples of network infrastructure. Server, switch. When one computer is a server, generally speaking, and the other one is not a server, but depending on this one to serve this, then we'll call this one client, or you can simply call it computer. So even though a server is a computer, we differentiate between the server that is requesting a service and the server that actually has the service and pushing the service. So the one in which you deploy the application is the server, and the computer that is requesting, for example, if you work in a bank and the bank running the bank app for running customer accounts and everything that the bank does is managed by a particular app. So when you are sitting on maybe your office and you are requesting using the bank's computer to query the data of a customer, that computer that you are working from will be termed computer, whereas the one that has the data that you are drawing termed server. All right. So yes, correct answer. Server is correct, but network is more correct, because server you are saying that, but network you are saying a lot of things in addition. Correct. So what's the goal for setting up a network? What do you want to achieve?
To be able to deploy applications that we can use.
Correct. To have a base infrastructure.
A platform.
Yeah, a platform that you can put your application. Correct. So the traditional way of setting up a network is to go buy your physical components such as servers, cables, routers, switches, computers, and all of the software that work with them, and then set them up in a hall or in an office and so on and so forth. That is the old school way. What is the new school way of achieving that same goal?
Using the cloud.
All right, correct. What do you do in the cloud?
Different computers, different.
Okay, on the cloud, you can actually set up virtual machines. Virtual machines that would serve as.
Gabe, you are all correct, but this JC, you seem to be using the right terminology. So on the cloud, you set up virtual machine. In fact, mentioning virtual tells me that you know that cloud is not a physical place, it's a virtual place. All right, beautiful. Cloud set up virtual machines. Or if you wanted to use a better terminology than machine is correct, is super. What's the alternative you could use in place of virtual machine?
Maybe virtual computers.
Machine is even better than computer. So what's the general name for all of the elements that you set up in order to form a network, apart from
infrastructure?
Infrastructure, yes. All right, so this is the basics. Once you know the meaning of these terms and you're able to use them, at least in conversation, then on the good stuff. All right.